Okay.
So thank you for joining us, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this project, Malka. It's I love what you're doing, and if you're okay with this, what I wanted to do is, before we dive in, is just for the purpose of the audience who will share this video with, would you just like to share a little bit, just 2 minutes, about what this project is about and how it came about?
Sure. What this project is, basically, it's a modality for health being developed based on your book, Dying to Be Me. After reading it and seeing some other near-death experience items, so I dove into how to make a healing modality based on it, and currently we have joining us today, people that volunteered in the original groups, people that are currently just starting on the road. And basically what it is that on one foot, it uses hypnosis to allow that divine spark, the pure essence, to come forward into a realm that's similar to your near-death experience, and to have all the same types of experiences that you had, of the expansion, of oneness, of higher knowledge, of this infinite love, all these different types of things, and then bring it back with them into the body in a open state. So it's integrated back with the pure essence, taking the forefront, and everything, bringing back everything that was learned. And we've had different interesting experiences with all different types of healing and things that went along with that.
Wow. See, that's beautiful. So, and I'll just summarize for the audience that Malka wrote to me and said that she had initiated a group of people, the criteria of which was that they all had to read my book, right, and watch and either read it or listen to it, the CD version of Dying to Be Me. And they had to watch, there was a couple of videos of mine that you suggested, and that was the criteria of being part of the group. And that you were using hypnosis to recreate that state of the near-death experience, and then the group was helping each other to integrate that experience back into life, and you were having interesting results. And so when I received that email from you, I thought, wow, this is so interesting. This is someone I would like to speak to ask, how's it going? How are the results? And how can we expand on that, or share it, or spread it, or whatever. So this is how this group came to be and why I'm here. So a couple of things is, one is I would like you all to ask me absolutely any questions that you would like. So everybody here today on this call are people who are, I'm assuming, part of Malka's group, who have all read Dying to Be Me, who watched some of my videos, and who have tried through hypnosis to try and attain that state and integrate it back into their lives. So I would love to hear questions from you, because I know your questions will be coming at this from a different perspective than those who are completely new to my work. And secondly, I would also love to hear more about the results that you've all attained. So, and with that, I'll pass it back over to all of you.
So yeah, so we have some prepared questions that people sent in, and then people will also be putting in the chat for after those. So I'm not sure if Kelly is here.
I see her name, Kelly.
So, because she was at question if she was going to be able to show up, but
Yeah.
if Kelly is, can you come on now? And if not, Hansa, can you please read her question?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm Hansa. I'll read Kelly's question here. So So she asks, after our sessions, many of us have felt this connectedness to everyone and everything. It's pretty amazing, but for me, my empath abilities have become so strong. It's great some of the times, but the heavy energies overwhelm me. For example, I went to the grocery store and became lost in the sea of connectedness to everyone. It felt awful and overwhelming to have so many conflicting energies all in one place. I got out to my car and cried and went home and saged myself. For the record, this is with energy protection. It's like there's no way around keeping my energy in and others out because there are no others anymore. Have you gone through anything similar, and how did you keep a handle on it, and what helped you adapt to it?
That is a beautiful question, and what she experienced is so normal. So that question was Kelly's question, right, Hansa? So what she experienced is so normal, and that's what it feels like to be connected to everything. And that's what an empaths have it more than people who are less on the scale, on the empath scale. But having an NDE experience and coming back, that's exactly what it felt like. And so that was not abnormal. I could not integrate back into the world. You feel like you have one foot on each side. You feel connected to everyone, and you feel connected to everyone's pain. And it was in that time that I understood the importance of ego. And that's when I really started to understand that the ego is not the enemy that we have been conditioned to believe it is. In conventional spiritual teachings, we've all been taught that the ego is the enemy of spirituality. It's the enemy of truly being connected to the all that is. And I can understand why it's been made the enemy, because the ego is your individuality. It's what separates your emotions. It's basically what gives you your boundary between what is mine, what is me, what is my identity versus everyone else. And that oneness is the complete dissolving of the ego, which is what spirituality says it is, which is absolutely true. Non-duality, that oneness, is the dissolving of the ego. But when we live in this duality, if you plan to live in this world, in the urbanized world, you need the ego to survive. Otherwise, you will drown. You will drown in everybody else's emotions. And that's why the ego is really valuable. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of spiritual teachers who are able to help navigate. And this is something that I tend to explore a lot, because I know exactly what Kelly is talking about. And it's exactly why I tell people, unless you are going to be a hermit on a mountaintop, unless you are going to live in a monastery, you need your ego. I also knew when I was on that side that I was supposed to integrate back into life, into the world. If I was expected to come back to be a recluse, I would have stayed on the other side. There was no point in coming back into the physical if I wasn't going to immerse into the physical. So here's where the ego helps you. So we tend to, when we say ego, we tend to think in terms of too much ego, too big ego, but actually too big an ego or too much ego, what the picture that we get in mind is narcissism. I'm not talking about narcissism. I'm talking about being able to identify what is mine, what emotions are mine versus what are not. And there's nothing wrong in being able to do that. So with Kelly, what she experienced was completely normal, but she has to give herself time to fully integrate that. And she will find that you cannot be completely open and vulnerable that way and go into a shopping mall or something, or a movie theater. When she is in that state, she will have to take care of herself and be selective who she allows into her space, because she is completely open. When we are in that space, in that meditative space of complete openness, when we are trying to attain and be one with everybody, and to be aware of that connection we have with the all that is and with everybody, we really do have to be in a safe space to do that. Otherwise, you are going to feel that full on, and you're going to cry, and it's going to be hard to take on, but it's because you're feeling the pain of everyone else, and it's not your pain. And in this world today, a lot of people are in pain. The other thing I want to add here is that it's very important for you to do what you need to do to keep yourself uplifted, because the world today needs your light. So if you allow the pain of others to drown you, you become part of the pool of pain. You become part of the darkness, if you will. And I don't say it as a way of judgment. For me, darkness means fear. And there's a lot of people in fear at the moment. The only way we can uplift everybody is by making sure we ourselves keep ourselves in the light. We can only uplift other people by shining the light for them, not becoming darkness, or not stepping into the darkness with them. That doesn't help them, that doesn't help us. So Kelly would need to do whatever she needs to do to uplift herself, recognizing that she has her own emotions, which are not their emotions, and recognizing these are not hers. She has an identity, an ego, and she needs to embrace it fully. There's no harm in embracing your ego. I don't believe that it is possible to live a fully integrated into three-dimensional urban life. It's not possible to live in this space without some form of an identity or ego. So that's my take, but it's completely normal. It's not, she has nothing to fear.
Thank you very much. Tracy, would you like to present your question, please?
The question I have is, since my 2 sessions with Malka, my level of connection and infinite unconditional love has been at a much higher vibration. But most of the time, this is my natural state of being. However, there are times when something comes along that kicks the feet right out from underneath me. And this happened to me in a family situation just recently. Our support group has been a great help, but what can we do on the spot so that we can immediately become grounded, stay in our hearts, and feel that unconditional love for ourselves and the situation and person at that time?
That's beautiful. So I use a visualization for situations like that. And my visualization is, I actually visualize the love coming from above me into my body from my crown and filling my body and then expanding outwards. And it expands more and more. And it is literally, it's an energy of love. By the way, the situation you described is so normal. It happens to all of us. I am, I am somebody who I'll be very honest with you, I find it really easy to stay in that elevated state of joy, happiness, love for prolonged periods of time. That's become my natural state, and I love it. I don't need to take time out to meditate or anything. That's really my state. But every now and then something will happen that'll just feel like a kick and it'll knock me off. So what you experienced is really normal. And so the kind of words I use, it's like what you've done in that moment is you've tapped into someone's fear. And literally they're coming from a place of fear. And instead of your light lifting them up, their fear or darkness has sucked you into their fearful space. And none of this, again, is a judgment, because people are not doing it deliberately. They're not mean. They're not bad people. They're just living in a world where the paradigm of fear seems to be spreading faster than the paradigm of love. To me, love is light, fear is the darkness. So the more light you have, so here's the other thing that happens, just to be aware. The more light you have, the more that you attain, because what you guys are doing is exactly what I'm talking about to people is to be in that space of light. But the more light you have, the more you will also attract people who are fearful, who are in the darkness, because they are attracted to the light, because they don't have it. So it becomes important for you to become stronger. So it's not just about experiencing that state. It's about being able to hold on to it and doing and flexing your muscles. You know, it's much like when you go to the gym. You go the first time and you work out and it's like, oh my God, it feels really good. But you have to be able to become stronger in maintaining that, because otherwise it's really easy to fall back. It's really easy for people to bring you into the darkness, because the more light you become, the more fear-based people you're going to attract who want what you have. And so this is the dichotomy. So the chances of you falling into the darkness or into the fear becomes greater the more love and lightness you have, because the more of that you are attracting, because they want it. They want what you have. And so be aware of that. And then this is the visualization I use. As I was saying, I see a light, a beam of light, strong, powerful beam of light, love, coming down from above, entering from my crown, filling my head, and then going down into my arms, legs, like my whole body, and then radiating outwards. This is light, this is love, and it can radiate out as much as you want it to. I watch it just radiating out. And with that visualization, it's like I tell myself, this is my light, this is my power, this is my love. And people can come and step into my light, but and they will feel better for it, but I am not going to dim this. The other thing I also tend to do is internally, I have this stance where I only engage with people who engage with me in a loving way. If someone is engaging with me in anger, I actually don't engage with them. I may give them a very short, monosyllabic, polite answer, but I make sure I move away fairly quickly. I am not judging them, but it's just that, you know, so I won't engage with them, but my presence is enough to surround them with love, as will yours be when you are in that space. Allow your presence to love people, but you don't need to verbally engage with people. And I will tell you why, that to be careful about verbally engaging with people. Because if somebody disagrees with you, they will try to convince you to go back into the place of fear. And that's why I say don't engage with them, but keep embracing them in your loving energy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
thank you.
Thank you. And what you've described is something that's universal. People who do get into this deep work, and this is the kind of work I do in my workshops, exactly this kind of work. That's why I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Violetta, you're up next.
Hi, Anita.
Hi, how are you?
Honor to talk to you. My question is related to your meditation that I've done a few days ago. So I saw that meeting with departed ones plays a major role. Though in my session with Malka, I did meet with my mother. I've been told that less than 20% of us are meeting with departed loved ones. So I want to ask you, how important is this for the healing? And what is their main role in the other realm in relationship to us in terms of impact?
So that's a great question. So the meeting with departed loved ones, if you don't meet departed loved ones, it's fine. There is nothing to be concerned about. Their role is to offer you familiarity and continuation. For some people, they want to meet, they feel more comfortable meeting with higher beings, with what their perception of God is, or a religious figure like Jesus, Buddha. So, but the role of the initial meeting, the first figure we meet, is to bring you comfort, to make you feel that you are safe, you are loved. It's to make you feel you've come home, really. That is the main role of that first encounter. And so it is actually unique to each individual. So you will get different, and this is why different near-death experiences, in different experiences, people meet different people, because everybody is unique. But whoever it takes for you to feel that you have come home, you are loved, you have nothing to worry about, whoever it is that can make you feel that is who will present themselves to you. And so for some people, it really is. It could be a family member who you've always wanted their love, but never had it in life. And now it's like they're here to show you, no, you do have my love. You're home now, don't worry. And so, but in terms of your healing, as I said, you will see who you need to feel. So if it's not a departed loved one, but something else, an angel, that's great too. All of it is good. It's all good.
Thank you very much. That answers my question. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Sandy, you're up next.
Okay. Hi, Anita.
Hi, Sandy.
It's so nice to talk to you. We really appreciate you in both of your books. They've helped myself greatly in the awakening process.
Oh, thank you.
During my session I had with Melka, which feels like a really deep meditation, the thing that stood out for me most was the feeling when we were talking about my health issues. When I was in my session, I felt like they were so small and insignificant, and I've got quite a few of them. But then, because during the session, I understood who I really was. That's how I was feeling during the session, and so the health issues felt insignificant. And you had answered another person's question in your first book regarding whether or not you would have chosen to come back, even if your body was not going to be healed. I found your answer quite profound. You mentioned you felt that you would have a sense of purpose in having to live with a sick body, and that's where I'm currently at. Would you have any suggestions on how to maintain a higher perspective of health issues being insignificant in our everyday reality, which includes the in-your-face pain? So
that's a beautiful question. And so what I would suggest for you, so first of all, it sounds like Malka is doing some amazing work. So I just wanted to mention that. And, because all of you are having such beautiful, deep experiences. So this is really great. What I would like to suggest for you is that, and I'm not sure of the how would I say, the strategy or the way that you do the meditations, the way that your group does it. I mean, do you do it you do it on your own, in your own time, you just do the meditation?
No, Melka dials in over the computer, and she's the practitioner who leads it.
She sounds amazing. So here's what I would like you to do is, for your next meditation, when you go deep, I would like you to ask the pain, what is the message it has for you? It is trying to communicate something to you. That's my sense. The pain, so there may be a reason why you need to, because as I said, if I had to come back into a sick body, there would have been a purpose for it. So what you need to do now is to ask your body, what is the message? What is it trying to convey to you? What is the purpose of this sickness? And it will become easier for you to manage the pain, alleviate the pain, as you start to understand what the purpose is. And you will find the pain will alleviate.
Okay.
And so as you ask your body that in the meditation, then it opens the door for your body or your higher self to start communicating that answer with you. And then you might want to keep a journal by the side of your bed, because the answers can come at any time. They may not come specifically during that meditation, but during the meditation, you are accessing a very high space, a very deep part of you, and you're planting the question. The answers may come in other ways as you go about your life. It may come in the way of a message in a program on TV, if you watch TV, or a message from, you might get a phone call from someone who might say something and you'll be like, oh my God, that's it. You'll feel the answer. It's not just, people will be saying words, but you will know, you'll feel the answer when it comes. Okay. So planting that question in your next deep meditation will start to open you up to receiving the answers.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Very.
So the next question is a two-part question, and Piper's gonna give the first part, and then Hansel will read the second part.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, I had to press a couple of buttons there to get on. Anyway, basically after my hypnosis session with Malka, I'm reading it here, I went through a number of kind of, blissful days afterwards, before I basically kind of crashed, bang, back down to the world again. And my physical issues all just kind of came on stronger than ever, so really kind of with a vengeance. And I know that after your near-death experience, you had, a remission of your cancer. But what I was wondering is, basically, were there any other glitches that your body experienced while you were kind of putting the rest of it back together again?
So here's what comes to me for you. And the question I'm going to ask you is, what's your marinade? And it sounds like a really weird question, but all of us are in, we have an environment. We live in a certain environment. I lived in an environment before, when I had cancer, before I had cancer. And then I went into the hospital, and then I went into the coma, and I had a near-death experience. And then the cancer, I experienced a spontaneous remission. And when I came out, like when I came out of the coma, and I was a different person. And that different person was the person that did not have cancer. And hence my physical body reflected that. Now, when I came out of hospital, though, I had to go back home to a community, and it was the community, it was the environment. I had to go back home. And when I say environment, I don't just mean the air, pollutants, water, whatever. I'm talking about everything about it. It's the community, the culture, the people, the city that I lived in. I had to go back to a life, and that life was of the person who got cancer. But I was no longer that person. That no longer felt like my life. So why am I telling you this? The reason I'm just sensing, the reason you're feeling what you're feeling is because you had an expanded experience which felt amazing. You came back and you're trying to integrate it into an environment, a culture, and I call it a marinade because it's what you were marinated in before. You're going back to the same marinade, but you're a different person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Yes. So this is why we come down with a crash. This is why it's like you know, it feels like, boom, people make us feel that we're not being realistic because, you know, because that was the community in which, or that was the environment, the marinade in which I was the person who got cancer. And now I am not that person anymore. So I really had to start kind of seeing it that way. Again, no judgment to the people that are there because they're thriving there. It was just me. I was the one that was struggling. So are you finding a similar thing that that maybe you were struggling in your marinade or environment to begin with before having these experiences?
Yeah, very, very much so. But then eventually, even though I, you know, experienced it where it was much more difficult at first, it was like, yay, it's great, you know, and then bam, and then everything got way worse for a while, and then it eventually all cleared up.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, I experienced that where it got way worse before it got better. And that's why I was wondering if you had any other physical, you know, experiences after that, but, or was it just all more or less a, you know, kind of a social, and on other levels as opposed to physical? The physical was just, that was it.
Well, with the cancer, that was it. I was done with the cancer, but but I have to admit that I could tell that if I stayed in that, because the environment I was in was an environment that focused on cancer, and it focused on the fear of cancer, and it focused on me needing to constantly be in fear that it's going to come back because I had it, because I almost died from it. So the environment, the marinade that I was in was one where the focus was on that. And I could see, because of the NDE experience, I could see that if I stayed in that consciousness, that cancer fear consciousness, it would come back. I needed to remove myself and create a life of joy, well-being, health, with a purpose and you know, and a purpose for living, and a completely different life where the focus was not on avoiding illness, but the focus was on living well and living fully and living fearlessly and healthily. And so once I was able to create that life for myself, that's when my life really started working. But every time I went back to the old environment, I would feel physical symptoms come back, and they would scare me. And once I would move back to my newer life and realize, you know, once it was, I really got comfortable and grounded in this new life, realizing I really do have to honor this. This is what I came back for. This is why I went through everything I did. It truly did work for me so well. You know, the physical symptoms weren't there. The fear wasn't there. My life was unfolding in so many ways. For me, it was literally like I could see two worlds, and I literally stepped from one into the other. And as the years went by, you know, so in the beginning, whenever I tried to go back to my old world, my old marinade, my old environment, in the beginning, people would say that I was being unrealistic, and that, of course, I had to keep going back to the doctor. And of course, I was only in remission, and I wasn't completely healed. And I had to go back for tests every 3 months, and I had to do this and that and the other. So I was living literally from a space of avoiding illness. And so for me, it was like really obvious, but people would tell me that you're being careless, you're killing yourself if you do it this way. And so I was made to feel that I was wrong, basically, that I was wrong. And if I was somebody who didn't have an NDE, I would have believed that and fallen into that paradigm and into that dominant belief system. Because I had an NDE, because I knew this is not the way it's meant to be, and I knew that the fear of illness was actually greater than illness itself. The fear of illness is actually the bigger cause. And so I had to remove myself, and the contrast was phenomenal. Like, my health improved, everything improved when I stopped focusing on illness and the fear of illness. So yeah, I hope that was helpful for you.
Yeah, wonderful. That's great. And yeah, I did experience where it eventually cleared after the session. So that was a beautiful experience. But yeah, well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And you know, it really sounds like Malka is giving people really amazing experiences, which is so wonderful. And sometimes the experience is beautiful. Then the next step is, of course, integrating it into life, which is why it's so good that you have this support group. I think that's so beautiful.
Okay, so Malka had a follow-up question to Piper's question. When reading the book, it can be difficult to understand the time frame of the actual healing which occurred. It seems that many tend to think it will be instantaneous, but it actually took 5 weeks before you left the hospital. I think a more realistic view on the progression of your healing will aid many in actualizing the potential experienced in their sessions. Did you have any healing crisis or other difficulties which needed to be worked through? And how would we know if someone is undergoing the process of physical healing, needing to catch up with the healing which occurred on other levels while in their session?
Another great question. So first of all, the tumors that I had, so just to get it really clear, so I had tumors, many of them the size of golf balls, from the base of my skull all around my neck, under my arms, in my breasts, all the way down to my abdomen. I had fluid in my lungs and I couldn't breathe without the aid of an oxygen tank, so I was wearing that oxygen mask. I had open skin lesions. I weighed 85 pounds. My muscles had completely deteriorated. My body had stopped absorbing nutrition. So it was, there's a word for it, I don't know what the word is, but where it was, like my, sort of like my own flesh was wasting away because the body was absorbing it itself to stay alive. So this is why I had these big open skin lesions, and I was like a skeleton, but I didn't even have the strength to stand up. I didn't even have the muscles to hold my neck up. My head would hang down like this. I was either in a wheelchair or on a bed. I was literally skin and bones, and I couldn't lie flat because if I lied flat, I would be choking on my own fluid. So that was my condition. And then my organs shut down. My kidneys shut down and my organs were shutting down one by one. And that's when I went into the coma. So just to put it into perspective, the condition I was in. The doctors basically, of course, after my organs shut down and after I went into a coma, they put on my medical record that these were my final hours and the family has been informed that I'm not going to come out of it. And basically I was dying. When I came out of the coma 30 hours later, I was euphoric. I was absolutely euphoric. I wanted to take the mask off and I wanted to tell people that I'm going to be fine. I know I'm going to be fine. Everybody was saying to me, you're still critical. You're still critical. You can't take everything off. I wanted to take the tubes out of my veins. So I was being piped with nutrition. I wanted to take it all off and they were stopping me. Anyway, within 4 days of coming out of the coma, the tumors, the golf ball sized tumors, shrunk by 70%. It was within 3 weeks that they couldn't find any cancer. 3.5 weeks. So February the 2nd was when I went in the coma. February 3rd, I came out of the coma. 4 days later, they found the tumors had shrunk by 70%. February 27th was when they couldn't find the cancer in my body. But my physical body was still weak. I had to build up more strength. They thought they had to use reconstructive surgery to close up the open skin lesions, but they didn't have to use surgery. Although I still have scars, the lesions started to close themselves. I was able to pull out all the feeding tube and the oxygen, all of that within after the 4 days. I came out of the intensive care unit and into a regular room. So the 4-day mark was a huge shift for me, huge shift. And then it's between the 4-day mark and 3 weeks after that, that they continued to shrink. So the obstacles I faced along the way is there was pain as my body was accommodating, but also with everybody around me in fear, I had to succumb to a lot of tests that I didn't want to. I had to succumb to a lymph node biopsy, which I didn't want to do because I knew I was going to be healed. I knew I was going to be fine. So there was a lot of pain from all the tests and things like that. But also I was feeling a lot of physical pain, nausea, just unable to keep food down. And so there was a lot of physical pain. But deep down, I just knew, and this is what's important, like through these transcendental experiences and this hypnosis, hold on to the knowing of what is in store for you, and know that your physical body sometimes has to go through growing pains to get there. The physical body has to catch up. So 3 weeks after coming out of the intensive care unit, they ran another set of tests and they could find no trace of cancer. However, I was physically still too weak to go home because I wasn't able to yet like bathe myself because I was building up the strength in my legs. So there was a physiotherapist at the hospital helping me every day to do exercises with my legs and walk up and down stairs. And I was doing a few steps at a time. 2 weeks after that, so that's total of 5.5 weeks. So February 2nd, it happened. 9th of March, is when I was released from the hospital to go home to live my life cancer-free. And I was told to come back for a checkup the following month, and then 3 months after that, and then 6 months after that, and all of which I did, and they found no trace of cancer. So basically that's the timeline. And over the months I got stronger. It really took me maybe 3 to 4 months to really get my full strength back, because even when I did go home on March 9th, I still did need help, like climbing in and out of a bathtub and things like that. So yeah, it took a couple of months for me to really look healthy. So yeah, that's the timeline.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tatiana, you want to go next?
Yeah. My question is about how do you keep your vibration from day to day? So I'll read it, so otherwise I'll get all confused. So when I was in session with Malka, I was feeling this, my body was feeling this, even that my mind, of course, you know, conscious mind, saying that, oh, this is just, you know, you imagining it. But my body was feeling the vibration and that unity with everyone. So I was feeling how my heart was expanding and my chest was just, my heart was pushing on the chest wall from inside. And I was saying, my heart is so big. I just feel everyone. I am one with everyone. Mm-hmm. And this was during the session. And then after that, of course, couple months went, and during our days, you know, it fades. So if I don't go back and don't listen to that exact episode to reminding myself that I am one with everyone, and that we are all one, and that we are souls, we are not bodies, and that we are all connected. If I don't do this, it fades, and I fall back into this life, into this routine, you know, and I get angry, which I don't as much anymore. So how do you keep this connection to your soul, to your higher self? How do you keep yourself from falling into the routine and forgetting about your experience? Because with your experience with NDE, it was so powerful for you that you still remember about that. But for us, for example, the regression it wasn't as strong. So we just tend to kind of forget and fall out of it. How do you keep yourself connected in vibration to that exact experience?
So that's a great question. And in actuality, any experience can be just as strong, like even the experience you have can be as strong as the NDE if you decide that it is going to take a predominant part of your life. So basically the choice you have, and it's similar to something I said, I responded 2 questions ago. I think it was with Piper, but I'm not sure. But so 2 questions ago, I was speaking about the marinade. And so it's a similar thing, is that we always have the choice, and we can keep having the experience over and over, like you can do the meditation or the hypnosis over and over and decide that actually this is the real me, and I have to make my physical life match the experience. But the reason why it fades for a lot of people is because what you are doing is that you have decided that this physical life is the real life, and that experience is not real. That experience is temporary. But when you decide this is real, not the physical life I'm living, so I have to change my physical life to match that experience, that's how you hold on to the experience. So bringing it back to myself, for example, when I had the NDE, I realized I could not go back to thinking that that experience I had was just chemical brain or the dying brain releasing chemicals, which is what people tried to convince me it was. I knew that if I allowed this world out here to take over, I would forget that experience and I would go back to being that person who had cancer, who has to live in a world that fears cancer and go back to tests and all that. I decided, and it was a decision, and this is the thing that I want you to know. It's a decision that you make, which one is real, that experience or this, this physical. And I felt, because for me, it was so real. And just like for you, you just said, Tatiana, that it affected your physical body. You could feel it in your physical body. I could feel it in my physical body. I couldn't deny it. It was real. And I had to honor it. And I had to honor it by removing myself from anything that brought me away from it. So let me take this one step further. So for example, a metaphor I use when I speak with people is, and you may have seen this video, the video I've done on it is called The Law of Attraction and the Tip of the Iceberg. And what I explain is that who we are physically, we think this is all there is to us, that our physical body is all there is. But in actuality, our physical body is just like the tip of an iceberg. And who we are is so much more and so much bigger than just the physical body. So when you get into a state like that, an hypnosis state or a meditation state or a near-death experience state, what happens is you have become aware of the whole iceberg. And then you become aware that this iceberg is part of a universe or part of a giant web that is connected to everybody else. In some way, the part of me that is non-physical, which is pure energy, pure consciousness, overlaps with your pure consciousness and yours and yours and yours. And so we are all connected. But you only access that when you are in this hypnosis state. Now, what happens is that when we come back, we allow ourselves to forget it because we think, oh, maybe it's my imagination. But if you can do some kind of exercise every single day, whether it's a bit of visualization, whether it's a bit of meditation, whether it's a bit of hypnosis, anything to keep that state in you, what you will, and so even if it's for 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day, what you will see happen is that you will see it physically manifest in your body so that it doesn't have to become a distant memory. what we are trying to do is we are trying to, or what I'm trying to say is that you need to do what it takes to make that expanded state more real for you than this little physical state. And as long as you continue to, not you, but people in general, continue to think that our 5-sensory, 3-dimensional physical life is all there is, and as long as we are only integrating with them, like our medical system is based on the fact that we are 5-sensory, 3-dimensional beings, but we're not. We're so much more. And this is why when we have experiences like what you're talking about, it defies medicine. And hopefully one day they'll catch up. I don't know. But my point is that every time we allow that belief to lapse and we don't keep accessing it and we allow it to lapse, we're falling back into the fear that we feel when we think we are 3-dimensional, 5-sensory beings, when in actuality we are 4-dimensional, 6-sensory beings. So as long as you can keep that as your knowing, I won't even say as your belief, as long as you know and you always carry in your heart that I am a 6-sensory, 4 or more dimensional being, or 6 or more sensory being. I am not limited to 3 dimensions and 5 senses. As long as you know that without a doubt, your life would be different and it would work. That's all you have to know, nothing more than that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. It was a great question.
We're over time, so it's up to you if you want to.
We'll do one more then. We'll do one more and then we can.
Okay, Malka had another question. In the book, you mentioned several factors contributing to your miraculous healing. Letting go of the struggle to live, realizing how you turned your energy in on yourself due to your past conceptions, self-love, allowing your magnificence to shine forth. Many have realized these and much more in their experiences. But you also came back with the feelings of euphoria and invincibility. What part of your experience do you feel directly influenced you going into and maintaining this state?
Great question. So what part of my experience helps me to maintain what part of my experience helps me to maintain the euphoria and the invincibility? Is that correct? I love that question. It is realizing that I create my world from the inside out and not the outside in. That is the part that makes me realize it. So in other words, I used to come at life from a victim mentality. Now I come at life from a creator. I am not the victim of my life. I am the creator of my life. So when I say this, I just want to clarify that I am not saying that if you have been abused, bullied, or anything, or raped, or anything like that, it doesn't mean you created it. That is not what I'm saying. So we have all been victims at some point or other, but healing your life and taking control of your life is your responsibility. And so because I was bullied as a child, because of gender disparity in my culture, I'd always thought of myself as a victim. And so what happens is that you carry that victim mentality when you go into adulthood. And I could see that's what I had done. I carried this victim mentality. And so I always waited for other people to give me approval. I waited for other people to make me a leader or to give me the power. I felt, so in other words, I gave other people the power as to whether to give me power or not. It was not until I died that I realized there's nobody out there who can give me power because everyone is me. We are all connected. I can decide that I am going to reach for the crown and wear it. I'm going to crown myself as being the power of my own life. And I only realized that in death. It wasn't cancer that made me realize that. It was actually death that made me realize, because we are all one. We are all connected. And if I feel that everything is a part of God or divine, everything is divine, everything is love, that is what my experience of the world will be. If I am the only one who can do that. And so if I wait for somebody to crown me or to give me the power to speak or to give me the power to be who I am, it may never come. It may come, it may never come. But I will be jumping through hoops for other people so that they will approve of me. But I can decide, hey, wait a minute, who made them have the power to give me the approval? Who gave them that power? I just gave it to them. I can give it to me. And it was that realization, like, oh my God, all of this, you know, we're all connected anyway. I don't need someone else to give me power. I can step into it myself. And that is what has made it sustainable, for me. It's the realization that all this energy out there, all the, whatever it is we see out there, is accessible to all of us. I don't have to wait for someone to give it to me. I don't have to wait for someone to give their power to me or to give their permission to me. It's mine if I want it. So I hope that made sense.
Thank you so much. You've given us so much more to utilize in our sessions and in our support groups. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for what you do. I mean, it seems like you're helping a lot of people, and that's so beautiful to see, really.